Hello. I hope you enjoyed that song. By the way, if you noticed, it's the song Modern Major General is sung very quickly. That is known as a patter song. Patter, a patter song. Very popular with Gilbert and Sullivan. They wrote a lot of patter songs. They were very popular with the audience because everyone likes to see someone who can sing that quickly. It's entertaining. Okay, so after Gilbert and Sullivan had their decades of success, the 1900s, we enter the 1900s, and the American musical starts to really take shape on its own. Um, we start to have these American composers because Gilbert and Sullivan were British. They just sort of like that their shows became popular in America and were produced in America. But because those shows became so popular, we had this like crop up of American composers and American directors and American choreographers and American producers like George M. Cohan and Jerome Kern and Florence Ziegfeld, who introduced his Ziegfeld Follies. So all these Americans start stepping up in the early 1900s, and they really gave American musical comedy a distinctive sound and style all its own, so that by the 1920s, the American musical comedy gained worldwide influence. Everyone was loving it. Um, and really to this day, the American musical has its own niche in the market worldwide for sure. Um, but then by 1927, we have a very, very, very influential musical written by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein II. And they wrote this innovative musical called Showboat. It was the most lasting hit of the 1920s. It was the first musical to combine seriousness with the spectacle of a musical. People were used to a musical being a spectacle. The big, beautiful sets, the gorgeous costumes, the entertaining songs, all of that is what people expected out of a musical by the 1920s. But they weren't used to there being anything serious being dealt with in a musical. They were used to musical comedies. Showboat in 1927 is the first musical to deal with some seriousness up on stage. Um, it featured a racially integrated cast, and it featured a plot line dealing with interracial marriage, which was illegal at the time that this show was produced, that this show was first produced. So this was very, very controversial. Um, this was groundbreaking stuff in the 1920s that Showboat was doing. This is a show that is still very much produced today. So it has stood the test of time. And on the next slide, you're going to see a clip from Showboat. It is a clip from the Broadway revival. I forget what year. I think it was in the 2000s that Broadway, there was a company that revived Showboat on Broadway. So it's a more recent production of Showboat, but you'll get a feel for what the show looks like. The song that you're going to watch is called Can't Help Lovin' That Man of Mine. And it's a very important song in the show because it's performed initially by a character named Miss Julie. And Miss Julie is actually biracial, but in the moment of this, which is very controversial in the 1920s, and in the moment of the show where she sings this song, no one knows that, and she is passing as a white woman, and the song "Can't Help Lovin' That Man of Mine" is apparently, as we learn in the show, a song that only black women would know and black people would know and sing. And Miss Julie, who is passing as white, knows the whole song and sings the whole song, and that's very controversial because people are wondering why a white woman would know this song and be able to sing this song. So take a look at the clip. And we can definitely appreciate Showboat for what it did for American musical theater, because it introduced the fact that musicals don't have to just be comedies. They can deal with some serious issues as well. Okay, enjoy that clip, and I'll see you a little later on.